Good afternoon, everybody. Dan Bailey, Smothered and Covered Sports. I'm without my friend Frank today. He is at Tap and Vine, continuing to get that wonderful restaurant up and going. I know you guys, we talk about it all the time, but you really got to make some time to get by there. They're doing a great job. It's a perfect size restaurant, man. I went and visited it yesterday. Got my eat on. Their tacos are amazing, and they've got. I think they're running a taco special right now. Where you get 2 tacos and a large margarita. So go by, check it out, especially on your way home if you're in the South Charlotte area. Definitely worth your time. Definitely worth the money spent. And hopefully you get to say hello to Frank if you do, and know that hey, he's on guys that are watching our show, and I'm sure that he'll love to say hello to you and thank you, like I constantly do. So I'm going to give it a go. And just me. We're going to set up a little converse action here over on Facebook Live from my personal account here while I'm recording and editing, and this one will go out in a final product later. So on Smothered and Covered today, our big celebration, at least for me as a diehard Alabama fan, as everybody knows, is today is Nick Saban Day. Today is the day well known around the football world as the day that people proclaim Nick Saban to be a liar and say, oh my God, he lied to everybody the entire time he was at Miami and he knew he was going to go to Alabama. Well, here we are 18 years later and 6 national titles later, and I don't think anybody cares about that narrative anymore. And more people look at Nick Saban and his time at Alabama as, wow, what a change, what it did for the landscape of college football. He's had 6 national titles, 10 SEC titles, 40 plus since the football era, playoff era, 40 plus draft picks, guys that are playing in the NFL, 40 plus 5-star recruits. I mean, the guy's just done it on so many levels. He's done it the right way, no investigations. Nick Saban. If anybody feels like chatting with me here and arguing, please do. You can't argue Nick Saban. Nick Saban's the greatest coach of all time. Even this year, the 2023 team that everybody counted out and they held at number 8 their entire year, they made the college football playoffs and beat the number 1 team in Georgia. They did all the things that people put out and said, oh, they can't do it, it's impossible, they're overrated, the dynasty's over. The dynasty's over. Nick Saban's done, he's cooked. No, Nick Saban is still the greatest coach in college football. He continues to develop players better than anybody else. You could argue, yes, he has more talent to develop, but he still does. And he still gets top-level picks. They stay committed to his program. And
Look, Nick Saban, University of Alabama, is still the gold standard and will be until the day he retires. So January 3rd is Nick Saban Day to everybody out there in the sports world. So don't forget it. If you get a chance, look us up on YouTube, Smothered and Covered Sports. Feel free to please subscribe to us on YouTube, on Facebook, and feel free to talk junk to me. Yes, I know I'm a Bama homer. I know that people that listen to this probably get a good laugh out of or continue to think, oh, Dan Bailey's lost his mind. And here's another thing about Nick Saban because, Nick Saban this, Nick Saban that, Alabama this. I got a friend that constantly likes to say to me, Dan, look, Alabama quarterbacks are a joke. Alabama quarterbacks are terrible. You guys at Alabama think you're turning out these products, and we hate you. We hate the Alabama quarterbacks, but Alabama quarterbacks have done what? They've won Heisman trophies. They've won national titles. Got two of the guys that have taken their team to the playoffs, the NFL playoffs this year. So I would argue that the products that Nick Saban and Alabama has turned out as quarterbacks have turned out quite well. One could argue Bryce Young is a disappointment right now, but I would a lot to succeed in that place. Tom Brady, as a young man, would probably struggle. Patrick Mahomes, anybody, if they had that offensive line and lack of speed at receiver, they would probably struggle. But there's haters out there. I get it. We're all fans, right? Which makes me want to get to the next point as we're talking about football. Okay, Alabama and Texas both finished just amazing seasons, both 12-2, both won their respective conferences, and yet you still have these trolls. The internet term for them trolls, and I think that visually it's the right way to think about them. These guys that want to attack what these kids did, right? These guys that want to say, oh, they're better than this, or Milrow's not a quarterback, or Texas, Sarkisian, he's not a championship coach. I mean, the guy in 3 years has taken Texas farther than they've ever gone. But again, fans want to be fans, but we got to remember, guys, here's a big thing. As a fan, you still need to take a step back and remember, especially in college sports, these guys are kids, right? Kids make mistakes. Any of you watching, any of you fans, when you were 22 years old, you surely made mistakes. There could be books written on the mistakes myself alone made at 22 years old when I was in the Army and partying till the sun came up and missing formation or doing things I shouldn't have been doing. But yet these guys are under so much scrutiny, and we expect this high level of excellence when there's millions and millions of people watching, and fans, you trolls, absolute trolls, still have the audacity to go out and attack young men, 22-year-old boys that are doing their best and giving everything they got while you sit back, drink beer, do whatever you're doing, and wish that you could operate at the excellence that these guys do. Instead, you want to be a hater and you want to attack these guys who work their butts off and work every day and every hour to become better. And they're doing it at a high level, and all you do is sit back, oh, you're trash, oh, you're small, oh, you're this. Well, guess what, pal? The person writing that, you were never good enough to be there. So if I offended you, good. Give some respect to these young athletes. Respect them for what they do. And respect Nick Saban. Again, Nick Saban Day. So that's my tirade. That's my deal on Nick Saban Day. Protect the athletes. Respect the coaches. These guys are awesome. I mean, they're professionals, and they're trying to get kids, man. Large groups of kids who are now getting paid millions of dollars, some of them, to execute and do the right thing and stay on task and win. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. It's nuts. So you just can't. All right, moving on. Big news in Charlotte today. I'm based out of Charlotte for anybody who doesn't know. Moving on. The NFL handed down their fine to David Tepper today. $300,000 for throwing a drink at a fan. In most stadiums, I think if you get caught on film throwing a drink at a fan, you are kicked out of the stadium for at least a year, and you lose a lot of privileges. If it's very egregious, some are kicked out for life. And yet, David Tepper, what does he get? $300,000. That's like $3 to me and you, right? I don't think the penalty's enough. I don't think that Tepper is I just don't think Tepper's the guy, right? Like I think he's bad for the culture of the city, and he's a terrible representation of Charlotte and the fan base here, because I do think the Charlotte fan base deserves better. And that's really all it comes down to. We could attack the draft picks, we could attack this and that, but those are business decisions, and who are we? Like, everybody's an expert, right? It's easy to sit back and say, oh, I mean, how do you not know this was the best pick? This was the best way to look at it. You're crazy for choosing a Heisman Trophy winner instead of a guy who was on another team and is 2 inches taller and blah, blah, blah. I mean, look, these guys are experts. They make millions of dollars to do it. And as a good business leader, your job is to hire the people that you believe can do it and will make the right decisions for you. If it's your money, then yes, you have all the rights in the world to hire and do as you want. Now, where I draw the big line with David Tepper is this, and this is the biggest deal. David Tepper is not being respectful to the fan base and the people of this area. And this is a very proud fan base. Panthers fans are a proud group. We are a young franchise. I mean, it doesn't feel like it. I'm 43 years old. I remember when we got the Panthers. I remember me and everybody in 8th grade were wearing the circle. We had the Panther in the middle, and the circle was all the way around and all that. But look, that was not too long ago. And if you look at the history of the NFL, and we're still a team that's made it to the Super Bowl twice, and we were built on blue collar football. The Big Cat had a way of doing it, and he instilled pride in the way we drafted. We got class guys. We got blue collar fighters. We played defense. We ran the ball, and we won on a consistent basis. I mean, we weren't great. We haven't won a Super Bowl, but neither is the other franchise team. Neither are any of the other franchise teams that have joined since the Panthers have. The Jaguars haven't. The Texans haven't, and so we're still in the mix and on par for where they are. But where David Tepper's really losing us is that he is forgetting
that blue collar mentality. He's throwing money around and hiring and firing and treating people like assets instead of like people. And he's not allowing the fan base to fall in love with the team again. We want to win. We want to be behind this team so desperately. Even if Bryce Young's a miss, Bryce Young's a miss. Okay, that's business. That's whatever. You can't be the guy that's not standing in front of the franchise and owning those mistakes. The Big Cat was great about being one of those people. The Big Cat was awesome about honoring and loving the fan base, right? You could go old school and say, oh man, let's go back to what a leader like that looks like. You look at some of the great owners in the timeline of the NFL, the Hallis family, even Jerry Jones is great owner as far as respecting and investing in the fan base. And where David Tepper is really losing us is he's losing the effect of really diving into and embracing the fan base and being an open book to them. Instead, he's a guy that's throwing drinks at an opposing person from a box and turning around and running away. He's also the guy that shut down a multi-million-dollar project that a lot of jobs were created and based on in the city of Rock Hill. Turned around and abandoned them. Left a lot of business owners, myself included, holding the bag on some settlement options that had longer-term effects on our company. Guys like Jerry Richardson didn't do that. He kept his ties in the right place and invested in his community and went to Spartanburg and practiced at Wofford College. And, he was there at every game, his big grumpy self, couldn't move. But man, everybody knew what he was about, and everybody knew that he loved our fan base. And I think David Tepper's missing the boat on that. The people are what's most important in any organization, and the people that fund it, the fans, need to be listened to and heard and responded to. And we shouldn't have an owner that we're having petitions signed to have the NFL remove him as an owner because he's a child controlling, type person. I know he's been successful in business, but it's time for him to be successful in investing in the community. And that's not just done through charitable works. That's done through really honoring the ethos of the Panthers and honoring what that means. And we need David Tepper to do that. We need David Tepper to stand up, own his mistakes, not just say, oh, the buck stops with me. And that's your typical, exactly, Ray, or his players. Thank you for chiming in. Or his players. He has got to be the guy that invests in the next steps for our people. And he's not doing it. He's making all the textbook lines, and he's not diving into what makes them tick. He's screaming and yelling inside of a locker room, accosting a coach in front of his players. You don't do that. You don't do that. So I hope David Tepper is able to turn the corner. We don't need another ownership change. We need him to be a human again. And to get back to the main subject, was $300,000 enough? No. Something needs to be done to David Tepper to make him understand that what he's been doing is wrong. Something needs to happen to get him to dive back into this community. Maybe community service is the answer. I don't know. But $300,000 is, again, like for any of us listening, watching, $300,000, that's a cup of coffee to David Tepper. It's nothing. Guy's worth $16, $17 billion. A number that you and I can only dream of. I mean, the closest I'm going to get to billion is if I write it down. I'm not getting a billion anything in my life, period. And David Tepper has $16 billion. So $300,000, no, not enough. Biggest thing is he needs to get back to his people. He needs to get back to his fans, and he needs to get back to his players and remember that that's what's important. The people are what make an organization. The fans are what make it stick. If you look at the Steelers organization, who I've got close friends that played for, those guys still identify with the Steelers. Why? Because that fan base is so strong, the Steelers travel. And it's because the ownership family has always listened to, loved, and respected the fans. And that was a big piece of who they are. Same thing in Green Bay. Our ownership needs to get back to knowing, loving, and understanding our fans, our culture, and who we are in the South before we can really be great again. All right, man. So to keep it in football, some of the best news I've heard all day. I'm sorry, Ray. I'm reading your note here. Yes, Ray, the guy is an insult to the city of Charlotte, and we have loyal fans here. Even though you're a Cowboys fan, if I remember correctly, but that's okay, Ray. I know you really still want to be a Panthers fan, but he is ruining it for a lot of people here. On the continue on the football news, we're going to move over to college. It's non-championship game related. One of the best pieces of news that I got today is Gene Chizik is out as a defensive coordinator at University of North Carolina. Thank heaven. I don't have the spots in front. I don't have the stats in front of me, but I can guarantee you that any Tar Heel fan that I know is jumping for joy right now. Gene Chizik, we gave up. We had some of the most basic elementary play calls at the end of games. We wasted talent, NFL talent at quarterback because we couldn't stop a leaking faucet at the University of North Carolina. So it is a great day. It's a day for celebration to see Gene Chizik out. And Gene Chizik is a good man. He's a good man. And I don't want to take anything away from him as a person. And, I'm not one to attack anybody as a person at all, but it was time for Gene Chizik to move on. I think he's a good mind. I think anybody that's been in the game as long as he has a lot of knowledge, and hopefully he can go work as a consultant somewhere. But his game day decision making has passed on, and it's just time for him to hang it up. And hats off to you, Gene. Thank you for your time as a Tar Heel. But look, man, it's just time. It's time for you to move on. And hopefully this hire, the Mac Brown, can usher in somebody with some youth, somebody that's been that can bring some excitement to the locker room, and somebody that believes and will stay with the University of North Carolina for at least as long as Mac is there, and hopefully somebody that can be a defensive mind that could take the helm once Mac retires, because I think Mac's like 98 years old and they wheel him in and out of that place every game day. My man certainly isn't managing the game. Mac Brown's not managing the game as a controlling coach. He is definitely the CEO approach and relies on his coordinators and coaches to do their job. So hopefully they can bring somebody in that's a mind that can get those guys and use the talent that Mac Brown has accrued and turn it into a strong and good program. Once again, unfortunately, they don't have Drake May as a quarterback anymore. So it may be a season or two too late, unfortunately, for the Tar Heels. And they may just continue to remain in mediocrity in the 8 to 9 wins a year, and continue to break all the hearts of all of us Tar Heel fans every time we start hot and fizzle out. Because what do they say? Carolina's going to Carolina. The Tar Heels are going to be the Tar Heels, and they're going to continue to let us down every year. I was looking at the game. We were looking at tickets. Me and one of my very good friends who played in the NFL were looking at tickets to go to the Duke game 3 weeks out. Tickets to the Duke game were $550, 35 rows back. Tar Heels lost the next two games. We could have bought those tickets for $110. Heartbreaking North Carolina Tar Heels. Season's over. Embarrassed in the bowl game. Mac Brown's around, still here, but Gene Chizik's gone. We can only hope that the next step is an ushering of hope and promise for that team, and that's something that we can get excited about on Saturdays, because we still the Tar Heels still have the most beautiful uniforms in college football. I dare somebody to challenge me on something different. That's amazing. Love watching it. I do. I love it. Love the Tar Heels. I get a lot of flack for being an Alabama fan and a North Carolina fan. And one of our next segments, I'm going to share the whole lineage of it. But anybody like my friend Ben McDermott, who I see is watching, could attest to, I've been this way my whole life. I've been a diehard Alabama fan and a diehard Tar Heel my entire life. I take none of this lightly either. I have been very, very absolute on the Tar Heels and the Crimson Tide. I've been through low cycles with the Tar Heels and the Crimson Tide. I am loyal to both forever. So with that being said, for my last segment today, I even put it on my header for anybody that doesn't get to see it here. I am officially done with college football for the year. It's basketball season. And nobody gets more excited about college basketball than I do. I am a diehard fan of the game of basketball, period. I will sit and watch guys play on the playground for 30 minutes in a pickup game in the park, or go to the Y and watch it while I'm working out. I love the game of basketball. I coached soccer for 5 years at a collegiate level. And the guy that hired me said, the way you coach, you're really just a basketball coach that's coaching soccer. I said, yep, that's right. My brain just works in basketball. It's the most beautiful sport there is. How do you not? It is the ultimate team sport. 5 people working in fluidity to get a ball through the basket more times than the other. The whole premise of being successful in it is being unselfish. It's a beautiful game. And the guys that play it, they're the highest level athletes. I mean, if you really get to go to a game and watch it live, even guys, hell, even at the high school level now, these guys are so athletic and they're so fast, and they continue to play the game in such a beautiful way. I don't necessarily like all the rule changes that has made it more offensive and a 3-point jacking routine now, but I still love the game of basketball. So needless to say, I'm very excited about this year. And I'm really excited for Hubert Davis. There's a lot of people who've been hating on Hubert Davis for quite some time. A lot of people saying Hubert Davis is he's going to be a bust. He doesn't know what he's doing, blah, 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 blah. Even though he had that majestic run, that was a rough year. I mean, they had been beaten by a lot of people leading up to that. And, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. Hubert Davis, I think, is a great coach. I think he's going to do a great job. I do think that this team and what he's done in the offseason to build this team, what we're seeing now is he's getting his kind of players there. And, man, they're 2-0 in the ACC. 9-3. I'm sorry, 10-3. 2-0 in the SEC, in the ACC, number 8 in the country. And they have the number 2 recruiting class coming in next year. Last night they played Pitt. And that Capel guy, I don't like either Capel brother. When Jason played here, he was terrible, and Jeff played here, he was terrible, and now Jason was a dookie, and I don't like either of them. They're big busts in my book, but they're both great basketball minds, and it was a great blue collar matchup against Pitt. Pitt's a tough place to play, and the Tar Heels went in there at one time. It was, they fought and fought and fought. They started the game was first 7 minutes, and they didn't score a point from the field. Ended up winning by 13. So Hubert Davis is doing a great job, and there's a lot to be excited about at the University of North Carolina when it comes to basketball. And look, Armando Bacot, man, just went past 2,000 points yet last night. 2,000 career points. Now, granted, it's his 5th year, but still, that's a big, big statement. Him and R.J. Davis and their dedication to the University of North Carolina has been amazing. And what's going to happen this year, I think that we're really going to see a transition to some really great basketball, and we're really going to start seeing Hubert Davis's touch on the Tar Heels. I think that we're really going to start to see some cerebral basketball and some real, ball movement instead of depending on speed. And we're going to see a lot of good shot selection. And R.J. Davis is just playing out of his mind. I mean, R.J. Davis is just outside of his mind this year, and hats off to him. That guy is a stud. He is stuck at the University of North Carolina, and he has continued to bust his butt. So look, all that being said, there's going to be a lot more content around this stuff. If you tune into this regularly, we're going to have some guests on this year, some NFL current and veteran players, some NBA and collegiate basketball players, some coaches, some business owners, and we're all going to talk sports. We're also going to start talking like, what makes people tick, and some of the economic trends around where we should be investing our money, or there's a lot of great things going on in the world, and we want to share it through our vast network of people. But ultimately, we're here to talk about sports and why we love it. Because I'm not some guru. I'm not anything more than a fan, but I'm not a troll. And if you watch the first segment, don't be a troll. Be nice. Remember, these guys are kids. and they're giving everything they got. Remember the coaches that you see fail, they're coaches. That's their job. They've been spending their whole life at it. And certainly, if you're a person who has stood over that individual and attacked them for a decision, can you imagine if that was you at your job and you were doing something and you had some fan that just knew nothing about your business but was standing over you, telling you everything you're doing wrong the entire time while you're working your butt off? We got to let that reflect into how we deal with it. If we want David Tepper to be a better owner, we got to be better fans too, and not attack. That's that's kind of an anti-media message when it comes to sports fandemonium. But we got to treat people like people, right? And for those of us like myself who are Christians, we got to be Christians in how we approach it. Everything I say is an opinion. I have no facts behind it. If I do, I'll present it as such. But hey, at the end of the day, I respect the professionals that have been doing it. I admire the professionals in the sports world that are able to do it for as long as they do. I am humbled to be in the presence of some of these guys because I'll tell you, they work really, really, really daggone hard, harder than most people could ever imagine the effort it takes to do what they do. And it's just not fair to attack them. So that's my rant of the day. Don't be a troll. Tune into us. Follow us on YouTube. Smothered and Covered Sports. Please tune in there. We've got a number of listed episodes. We're now going to start putting stuff out every day, usually from a 30-minute to an hour timeline. Varied in what time it'll be released. We'll try and do a good job about that. But ultimately, look, it's going to be nothing but mostly positivity here. We're going to be trying to put out positive messages and fun messages around sports and just immediate reactions. But at the end of the day, we got to honor those guys. Don't attack our athletes. And lastly, one more shout out to our sponsors. Frank Haiti couldn't be here, but he was working hardcore on Tappan Vine and Quail Hollow. They've got that place up and running. And Stroll Magazine's for the Ballantyne neighborhood. They're doing pieces on local businesses to keep everybody intact and sharing experiences with each other. Support local businesses and help you support local businesses in the Ballantyne area. So please check that magazine, support local businesses there, and have a great rest of the day. And before I go, one last time, it is Nick Saban Day. Respect to the GOAT. Thanks for coming to Alabama. We'll see you tomorrow.